welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. It was a typical Thursday evening when I walked through the door of our suburban home, the familiar buzz of the city's rush hour just beginning to fade in the background. The house was dimly lit, the aroma of jasmine tea barely masking another scent, a sharp, musky cologne that certainly wasn't mine. My wife, Melissa, was nowhere in sight, but I could hear her laughter trickling down from upstairs, light and carefree. Curious, I hung up my coat and made my way to the living room. Melissa's voice grew louder as I approached the kitchen. She was on the phone, her voice a melody of amusement and whispered secrets. "Of course, I'll remember," she giggled, oblivious to my presence. "You're unforgettable, you know that." A pang of suspicion jabbed at me, but I brushed it off. "She's probably talking to Jenny or Mark from work," I rationalized. After all, trust was the bedrock of our 10-year marriage. The next day, the peculiar cologne still lingered in my mind. With Melissa at her yoga class, I decided to do some cleaning, hoping it would distract me from the unsettling thoughts brewing inside. As I vacuumed under the bed, a foreign object caught my eye. Reaching under, I felt the fabric between my fingers and pulled out a pair of men's socks, boldly striped, and definitely not mine. My heart hammered against my chest. The room spun slightly as the reality of the situation began to settle in. There was no denying it now, these tangible pieces of evidence screamed betrayal. Filled with a tumultuous mix of rage and heartbreak, I sat on the edge of the bed, the socks clenched in my fist. Memories of our years together flashed through my mind, each happy moment now tainted with doubt. How long had she been deceiving me? How could I have been so blind? The front door creaked open, and footsteps announced Melissa's return. I steeled myself, tucking the socks into my pocket, and walked downstairs. "Hey, love, how was class?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside. "It was refreshing, as always," Melissa replied, her smile bright. She leaned in for a kiss, but I turned my cheek, her lips brushing past. "Is something wrong?" she inquired, a frown creasing her perfect forehead. "We need to talk," I said, leading her into the living room. The socks lay between us on the coffee table, an unspoken accusation. Her eyes widened, the color draining from her face as she stared at the damning evidence. I can explain," she stammered, her voice a mere whisper. "No," I interrupted, my decision crystal clear. "You've made your choices. Now, I'll make mine." In the days that followed, I set my plan into motion. Every step was calculated, each move designed to dismantle the life we had built together. The house, the shared accounts, the dream of a future, everything she held dear would be stripped away, piece by piece. As the chapter closed on our marriage, I ensured it was an ending she would never forget. And as for me, I walked away, vowing never to look back at the ruins of a love I once believed was unbreakable. The morning light filters through the curtains as I sit at the kitchen table, my laptop open before me. Today's agenda is clear and unforgiving: gather evidence. If I'm to dismantle Melissa's life with the precision of a surgeon, I need undeniable proof of her infidelity. The stray pair of socks was just the beginning. I start with her phone. Last night, while she slept, I managed to unlock it and install a spy app. Now, as I scroll through the text messages and call logs, the extent of her betrayal unfolds like a sinister drama. The name, David, appears repeatedly, accompanied by late-night calls and texts brimming with heart emojis and plans for secret rendezvous. I jot down times and dates, my hands steady despite the inner turmoil. With each entry, the case against her builds, and the coldness in my heart deepens. I know what must be done next. Later in the day, I sit across from a private investigator in a dimly lit coffee shop. I need full details, photos, locations, everything, I instruct him, sliding a folder across the table. He nods, his expression unreadable. You'll have everything within the week. If she's cheating, we'll catch it all. As the PI leaves, my phone buzzes. It's Melissa, probably wondering where I am. I silence the call. There's no going back now. That evening, I return home to find Melissa in the kitchen, her back to me as she stirs something on the stove. The aroma of garlic and basil fills the air, a stark contrast to the bitterness that lingers between us. "Where were you today?" she asks, her tone casual, but I hear the underlying tension. "Out," I reply curtly, not meeting her eyes as I set my keys on the counter. She turns, her face etched with concern. "We need to talk, don't we? About us, about everything." I lean against the doorway, crossing my arms. "There's not much to talk about. Actions speak louder than words, Melissa." Her eyes well up with tears. "I made a mistake. It meant nothing, I swear. We can get past this, can't we? I love you." The plea in her voice almost sways me, but the images of the texts are too vivid in my mind. "Love?" I scoff, my voice rising. "Is that what you call it when you betray someone who trusted you?" She steps forward, reaching out. "Please, let me explain." I step back, my response cold as steel. "Save it. You'll hear from my lawyer." That night, as I lie in bed, the silence of the house is deafening. The PI's words echo in my mind. By the week's end, I'll have everything I need to end this charade. Melissa's betrayal has set us on an irreversible path, and as the darkness envelopes me, I brace myself for what's to come. The battle lines are drawn, and the war has just begun. As the evidence piles up, so does my resolve. Melissa's life as she knows it is about to crumble, and I am the architect of her downfall. The next chapters will reveal the true cost of betrayal, and I am ready to write them. The week crawls by with the heaviness of pending doom, each day marked by silent meals and even quieter evenings. Melissa's attempts at conversation dwindle as she senses the tightening net of my plans. I keep my interactions minimal, my focus laser-sharp on the unfolding evidence from the private investigator. On a particularly gloomy Friday, my phone vibrates with the anticipated message, a secure link from the PI. My pulse quickens as I open the encrypted files, my fingers steady despite the chaos brewing within. Photos, videos, time-stamped and location-tagged, display the depth of Melissa's deceit. There she is, laughing at a secluded cafe with David, her hand lightly touching his. Another video shows them walking into a hotel, hours disappearing before they re-emerge. I download every file, backing them up meticulously. This isn't just for the divorce, it's for the obliteration of her duplicity. Armed with this new ammunition, I drive to my lawyer's office. The city rushes by in a blur, mirroring the turmoil inside me. Mr. Reynolds, my lawyer, greets me with a solemn nod as I lay the printed evidence on his desk. "This is more than enough," he states, flipping through the photos. "We'll file for divorce on grounds of infidelity. With this, you'll get everything you want." "Everything," I affirm, my voice devoid of doubt. As the legal wheels begin to turn, I plan the next phase of my retribution. Melissa's social standing, her relationships, I will dismantle them piece by piece. I start with her family, sending them an anonymous email packed with the undeniable proof of her affair. Her world must shrink with the same suffocating force that her lies have wrapped around my heart. By the time I get home, the storm has broken. Melissa confronts me in the living room, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed. "Why did you send those things to my sister?" she demands, voice shaking. "My family is calling, asking if it's true." I stand firm, facing her across the cold expanse of our once shared space. "You brought this on yourself. Everyone will know who you really are." She collapses onto the couch, her hands covering her face. "You're destroying me," she sobs. I'm only revealing the truth, I retort, my heart hard as stone. You did the destroying when you decided to betray me. Over the next few days, Melissa's life unravels publicly. Friends turn their backs, her phone buzzes constantly with confrontations and pleading voicemails. She becomes a shadow within our home, trying to salvage any piece of her former life, but I am relentless. One evening, as we pass like ghosts in the hallway, she stops me. Is there any part of you that still cares? Any part that remembers what we had? I pause, looking into the eyes of the woman I once loved. I remember everything, I say softly, the weight of our past momentarily pressing down. That's exactly why this has to happen. As she reaches out, I step back, the finality of my words hanging heavy in the air. Goodbye, Melissa. The door closes softly behind me, a quiet end to the cacophony of our ruined love. As I walk away, the pieces of my new life begin to assemble in my mind, each step a move towards a future free from betrayal. The retribution is not complete yet, and the plot's next turns promise to be as harsh as they are just. The storm of my making continues to gather, and by its end, nothing of our shared past will remain unscathed. The day of the final confrontation arrives with a grim sky, mirroring the storm inside me. As the court date looms closer, Melissa's despair turns to desperate bargaining, but I am immovable, fortified by the betrayal that has hollowed out my heart. I spend the morning in quiet preparation, reviewing my statements and the conclusive evidence with Mr. Reynolds. He lays out the strategy one last time, his voice a low, steady rumble. Once we present this, it's over. She won't get anything, not the house, not the savings. Are you ready for this? I've never been more ready, I reply, feeling the final pieces of my resolve click into place. In the courtroom, the air is thick with tension. Melissa sits across from me, her lawyer whispering last-minute advice in her ear. Her eyes meet mine, a mixture of fear and pleading, but I look away, my gaze fixed on the judge as he enters. The proceedings are a blur of legal jargon and formal exchanges. When it's my turn to speak, my voice is calm, my words sharp and unforgiving. As I detail the betrayal, presenting the evidence with precise clarity, I see the color drain from Melissa's face. Her betrayal is laid bare for all to see, her infidelity undeniable. The judge's gavel comes down like the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. The court rules in favor of Mr. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson will receive no marital assets. Outside, the sky breaks open, rain washing over the city as if trying to cleanse the dirt of our broken vows. Melissa approaches me, her steps hesitant. Can we talk? She asks, her voice barely above the noise of the storm. There's nothing left to say, I say, turning to leave. Please, just 1 minute, she insists, grabbing my arm. I stop, my body tense. This is your doing, Melissa. You chose this. I know I made a mistake, she cries, the rain mingling with her tears. But there's something you don't know. I was going to tell you. Her words trail off as a sleek car pulls up to the curb. David steps out, rushing over with an umbrella. His arrival isn't what shocks me, it's the young woman who exits the car after him, her belly swollen with pregnancy. Melissa takes a deep breath. I was leaving him, for us. This is his new girlfriend. I realized it was a mistake. I wanted to fix things before it was all out. David nods, his face somber. I'm sorry for everything. We never meant to hurt anyone. The revelation hits me with the force of a tidal wave. The betrayal was real, but so was her regret and her attempt to end it. I had dismantled her life, believing it was justified retribution, but had I paused to seek the truth first? In that moment, the rage and vengeance dissolve into the cold realization of my ruthlessness. Melissa, the love of my life, is broken, not just by her own mistakes but by my relentless pursuit of revenge. I hope you can forgive me one day, I say, the weight of my actions heavier than the falling rain. Melissa shakes her head, a sad smile on her lips. I hope the same for you. We part ways, the distance between us wider than ever. As I watch her walk away, a part of me wishes for a different ending, one where forgiveness overcame vengeance. But the damage is done, irrevocable and deep. The rain continues to fall, washing the streets clean, but the stains on our hearts remain, indelible reminders of the cost of betrayal and revenge.